I've been spending a lot of time in my garage with my Morris Minor over the last month. I drove it down to Grantham in the middle of October, and it was a nice trip down there, lovely weather. I knew that there was going to be bad weather on the way back, but I just thought I'd do it anyway because it would be fun. And I came back in what was called Storm Betty, and there were big floods on the roads on the way back, so it was quite fun and exciting. I didn't have any water coming into the car. I went through some deep flooding and incredibly heavy rain. I had no ingress into the car, no leaks that I could see. But when I got back, I thought, I'm gonna start, I better just take the sill covers off because I want to have a look to see what it's like in there. I'll just give this a good drying out and sorting out. And then once I started taking things off, I started seeing things that I'd like to tidy up, and it's just gone on and on and on. I took the sill cover and the finishing rails off, and underneath the sills, I knew the sills were fine because someone had looked at them and told me, yeah, they're fine, like a Morris Minor person, someone from the club actually. But I'd never looked at them, and when I opened them up, they weren't wet, there was no water in there, but they're really full of rubbish and like bits of historical rust and dust, and all these bits down here were clogged up with rubbish. There was more significant surface rust in places at each end. So I've been cleaning it all up. I've got all the stuff out of there. I've put rust treater in there, rust dissolver and rust killer, and then I've given it all a sort of light dusting with a rust proof coat. When I took the carpet up, I knew there was quite a lot of sort of surface rust on the floor pan. I think it's because moisture gets in through the gearbox cover and the brake cylinder cover, and also at the sort of joints. That's where it seems to be worse. So along here, lots of sort of surface rust. It didn't look very pretty, but I scrubbed it down, scraped it down, put rust dissolver and then rust converter. So what was actually looked quite scary is all nice and solid. It's taken a long time, and now I have to look at the other side. So it's a similar story on the other side. I haven't got as far with this. I have scraped out all the loose bits of rust from in there, and sort of sprayed a lot of WD-40 on there to clear it up. It's possibly not quite as filthy as the other side. Again, there are some other bits which need a bit more heavy sort of sanding back. There's no fundamental problem there. So it's a bit scary how much rubbish came out of there. That is all the stuff that came out of it. Look at all that. So it's a bit worrying, isn't it? And my thought about that is every time the door slams, you have to shut it quite hard, and it's gonna sort of dislodge loose bits of surface rust. But I'm assured now it's cleaned up. That's all really, really good. It feels really solid and clean inside there. No problem. Right. There's always the odd bit of stuff to come out. Ah, good. Ah, yes. And the fourth one. Yes. That was much easier than the other side. Right, one passenger seat out. Super. Just come into my kitchen utility area. You see the driver's seat is in here now. There's no problem with this, but underneath there was, these frame had sort of surface rust. It looked pretty ugly. So that was been sanded and then painted with rust-proof paint. Bit of grease on the adjuster there. But I've also bought some sound insulation material. And so as I'm under there and done it all, I might as well stick some of that down, I think, and see whether that makes any difference. Over here we have the sill covers and the finishing rails. So these sit at the bottom of the door, cover the sill, what I just showed you, and the finishing rail goes on something like that. And they looked fine. They looked like they do now. They were painted silver like this. But when you take your finishing rail off and you take your sill cover off, there's just so much space and opportunity for rubbish to get in there. So there's a lot of surface rust under there, a lot of surface rust on this side of the sill of the finishing rail. So I sanded and resprayed everything. So although it don't look much different from the surface, it's been a lot of work. Okay, it's definitely better than the other side. On the other side, this was all lots of surface rust on the cover there. So we'll see a bit of a before and after, because in the end it should look more like it does on the other side there. So this is after treating it with rust dissolver and then, scraping it all back, getting off what I could, and a light sanding, and then I put rust converter on. It's quite a nice finish to paint on top of. So that's my approach to tidying this up, rather than strip it all back and getting this under seal off, just to strategically treat bits where it's coming away. Again, that black is the effect of the rust converter, so it's nice and solid and clean. Right, I feel like I'm really getting there now. Definitely looks less rusty. But what I'm going to do now, while I'm at this, is I'm going to try out some of this sound deadening foam that I bought. It's meant to be sort of hydrophobic. The advantage of this as well, it will provide a bit of padding underneath the seat so the carpets don't wear so much, and in one of the areas where it got all scuffed up and was in danger of rusting was where the seat rests come down. That's where that is there. That's all nice now. That's exactly what's done there, is the seat. So I'm not putting it over the gearbox cover. That would be a no-no. Oh, well, I really enjoyed doing that. Oh, it was fun cutting out all those bits, and they're stuck down now. It's another bit to clean up I found stuck to the bottom of the carpet. Oh well. I finally got my car back together, of a sorts. Oh, it's been a month doing this. That'll do. I'm going to put the sill covers back on. When you see these covers, you see when you take them off, you're surprised that they've got a curve to them. When they're on the car looks dead straight, but there's a curve towards the front. So this is for the passenger side one. Held in place with a random selection of crosshead and flat blade screws. And when you look at the finishing rails, you think they're identical, and then you look more carefully and you see there's a tapering from one end to another. So one is definitely port and one is starboard, and I put the wrong one on first. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Down you go. Get that really tight. Don't want it rattling around. Do the bolts on either end first to get it nicely lined up. But I think that's what it looked like before. You were sort of looking closely, so did it actually look like that before? But it must have done. Yeah. So that's great. All done. It looked so horrible in the video when I was looking at it back. I thought I'd just show you it again, how it's tidied up. And you can even hit it with a hammer. So we're good.